Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares. Welcome back to Seldom Seen series. Now, today we picked something that is not only seldom seen and very seldom talked about, but it also is going to affect franchise frenzy for a few people who have done The Exorcist as one of their franchises. And the movie I'm talking about is The Ninth Configuration. Now, The Ninth Configuration is a 1980 film which runs approximately 118 minutes. And this is written and directed by William Peter Blatty. Now this stars Stacy Keach as Colonel Vincent Kane, Scott Wilson as Captain Billy Cutshaw, and Jason Miller, yes, Jason Miller, who was in the original Exorcist and Exorcist 3, as Lieutenant Frankie Remo. Now, this is a movie with an incredible cast. I've watched this twice. It has Joe Spinell, Robert Loggia, Moses Gunn, Neville Brand, Tom Atkins, The Stash, Richard Lynch, and it is the sequel, the true sequel to The Exorcist. Now that may be a little confusing because it's actually a part 3. Let me try to explain. While you have The Exorcist as number 1, because of release date, you have The Exorcist 2, The Heretic as number 2. The Ninth Configuration would come in as number 3. A very brief plot synopsis and how it ties into, well, I'm not going to tell you how it ties in, but it does tie into both The Exorcist and The Exorcist Part 3, because this was supposed to be the true sequel of The Exorcist. Okay, you have a bunch of men at a mental asylum, which is a beautiful castle. And they have a new doctor coming in, who is Stacy Keach. And everything, let's just put it this way, everything is not exactly what it seems. Unfortunately, I'm going to leave it there. Our whole point of Seldom Seen is to get you guys to go out there and watch it. Now, this movie, I will say this. If you are expecting a film like The Exorcist, you are going to be very disappointed. So I'm kind of trying to prepare you for what you're going into before you get there. That shouldn't be too big of a surprise because those of you who have done Franchise Frenzy Part 2s and have watched Exorcist 2 The Heretic, in my opinion, should already be prepared because The Exorcist 2 The Heretic was nothing like the original Exorcist. Now, I am a fan of that movie, of The Exorcist Part 2. It didn't rank very high because there are a lot of better films as Part 2s. But I do really like The Exorcist 2 The Heretic for what it tries to do. And some of what it tries to do is actually what the Ninth Configuration tries to do as well. So here's the story. A little bit about the story of the Ninth Configuration and why it's Part 3. The reason why it's Part 3 is because of its release date. Now, technically, it is Part 2. But for those of you, once again, who are doing Franchise Frenzy, this will be your Part 3 of your Exorcist franchise. Unless there's no way of you getting it, that's another thing. This was released as a limited edition Scream Factory. It was also released as a second sight Blu-ray. And as far as I know, there might be a overseas version of it as well. But yeah, it's not tough to get. Maybe a little bit more expensive, but it's not that tough to get. So this is my second time watching it now. And in understanding what William Peter Blatty was trying to accomplish with not only The Exorcist, but the Ninth Configuration and Exorcist 3, or the way he originally wrote it was for Legion, which is the alternate cut on the Exorcist 3 Scream Factory Blu-ray. It was supposed to be a The first part, The Exorcist, was supposed to be the discovering of evil. The ninth configuration is basically good, battling evil. And the third part, Legion, is the punishment of evil. So he wrote them very specifically. Now, I read some quotes from William Peter Blatty saying that this is actually the second part to The Exorcist. So it is considered the one true sequel to The Exorcist, not Exorcist II: The Heretic, which is part of the franchise, but not the true sequel. This is the true sequel, and it does tie in to the original Exorcist and Legion. So, yeah. I hope I explained that well enough. The reason why we're doing this now, in the beginning of the month for Seldom Scene, is because we wanted to kind of inform you. We didn't do a franchise overview of The Exorcist. And to be honest, in doing some research, we actually didn't know that this was the sequel to The Exorcist. But we do, we watched it, and it is going to figure into our franchise ranking. So, definitely check this one out. It is very, very underrated with a spectacular, spectacular cast. Don't forget to check out Joe's video for the ninth configuration. And remember, guys, physical media matters. Until next time, peace.